Relating public issues to private troubles is a key way of thinking about what we want to instill in you in this course, which is the sociological imagination. The sociological imagination is made up of 4 factors: the historical, the critical, the cultural and the structural. These are factors to help us think about the relationships between agency and structure, and the ways that things we take for granted, the things we see as normal, the things we see as common sense, are the products of power and history. In terms of the historical factor, we need to think about how the past influences the present, how policies and decisions made in the past influence the way that we live now, and how history is very much embedded in individuals in the ways that we're socialised into the world. An example of this could be thinking about something like the product asbestos that was made in the 1930s. One form of science thought it was a wonderful thing to build houses out of. Decades later, another form of science finds that it kills you. Here we can think about the way knowledge progresses over time and the way that knowledge itself is the product of history and social relations. We can also then think about how multinationals, corporations then try and protect their interests, and as a result people can often become sick and die in terms of the pursuit of profit. The historical relations here can help us think about how the economy, society and politics relate to each other, the way that the media is implicit in either uncovering or covering up things like this, and the way, again, these kind of powerful social structures affect the lives of individuals. The cultural factors of the historical information get us to think about the things we take for granted and how cultures themselves make us think some things are normal and some things are weird and abnormal. An obvious way to think about this is food, where Australians tend to be disgusted by, say, eating whales or dogs, yet we're quite happy to eat pigs and cows, and across cultures the offence to this kind of eating is very different. The cultural aspect is also a way of thinking about socialisation, where we, for some reason, relate blue to boys and pink to girls, and the way that things like religion and traditions have profound effects on the ways that we live, our opportunities and the choices that we can and can't make. The structural factors of the sociological imagination are the ways that things like the law, politics, media, education systems affect our day-to-day lives, and also structural factors such as things like class, race, gender and ethnicity. We can think here about how the education system itself has real effects on people's life chances, where the very ability to send a kid to private school and public school can have effects on their ability to put their choices into practice. Another way to think about structures today would be algorithms, the way that these things have real effects on the things that we see online, and maybe on the things we buy, and certainly on the ways that we relate to each other and what we see as kind of news or fake news. So the structures of society, again relating to our abilities to have agency and how much we can put our choices and put our opportunities into practice. This relationship is one of the key relationships that we look at. Again, as I mentioned earlier on, agency and structures tend to relate to who has power and who doesn't. The critical factor of the sociological imagination asks us to think about how could things be different. It asks a key question of who benefits from the way things are and how could things be different and better. So considering the 3 previous factors, how we can use those aspects to analyse the world, to analyse the relationship between individuals and societies, to analyse power structures and institutions, to help us think about how to make those things better. And now this is a key and hopefully hopeful part of sociology, where much of sociology is very critical and in some ways can be quite depressing in terms of it points out many of the injustices, discriminations and marginalisations in the world. But the critical area of the sociological imagination asks us to be hopeful and to engage with how we can make societies better and how we can make policies better and how hopefully we can improve the lives and happiness of people in the world.